The NBA big man, or at least the old school version of the NBA big man, was we draft a center because we need a center to win a championship. But now, the power forward plays a very big man role in the NBA. The center is some of these guys have become three-point shooters, DeMarcus Cousins to say the least. And it's time to argue with Andre Snellings over who the best big man in the NBA is right now. Granted, things will probably change by the end of the season, and there's one player that sticks out that Andre mentioned in his Hoops Lab column this week that I think the consensus is the best big man in the NBA. So, Andre, you mentioned in Hoops Lab this week that Anthony Davis, it might be, we're not jumping the gun, but a lot of different body parts continuously get banged up, and he might be going towards the prone label, which is a very dangerous label in the NBA.
Yeah,
Is he the best
it's
big
not where you want
man
to
even
be.
with that label?
And I will still say it's early enough that that can change in a heartbeat. Because a couple years ago, I was writing in the Hoops Lab how Steph Curry was outstanding, but he just couldn't make it through the season.
Right.
He just kept his ankle. He had a trick ankle, and then obviously now you see where he is. But Anthony Davis, I think what bothers me is that it's like a different body part each time. It's not like, okay, well, he really messed up his ankle and now he keeps re-aggravating. It's like, it'll be his shoulder and now it's his hip and now it's a knee is sore. And every year he's been in the NBA, he's missed at least like 15 to 18 games.
He hasn't played 66, I think is his max in a season.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, he hasn't missed enough. I mean, he's not Greg Oden. He's not somebody that is just like, oh, wow, this guy, if he could only get on the court, he'd be about something. I mean, he's not to that level, but it's just, and keep in mind, too, the Hoops Lab is a fantasy sports column. And so for a fantasy owner, your best player missing a fourth of your games, that's a big deal.
Right.
In the real life NBA, put my nerd stats back hat on, nerd stats hat back on. Let's try that sentence again. A colleague of mine did this analysis, this breakdown on how much missing games hurts a star player. And his results were that it really didn't make a huge difference if the star player played 80 games versus 65 games in most circumstances. I mean, you have outliers in either way, but I mean, his measure that he was using was on win probability. So if you take that as being a possible truth, then Anthony Davis playing 65 games a year could still be the best big man in the NBA.
Right.
But I really need him to stop getting hurt so much.
Yeah, I mean, NBA fans around the world want to make sure Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt as much because he's truly such an incredible talent to watch, and we've seen him grow into this unfairly good player at basketball. But in terms of the other big men in the NBA, I use Hollinger's NBA player statistic all the time because he evaluates guys with PER and defensive rebound rate, those nerd stats that I know you love as well. And right now, if you look at it, Hassan Whiteside is ranked with the highest PER with a 27.84 amongst all centers. Andre Drummond's up there, and as well as somebody who I feel never gets enough credit in the NBA for being such a diverse big man in terms of his game, Al Horford, who I wouldn't consider him the best. I feel like he's always just in the top list amongst big men in the NBA. But Al Horford's a very well-rounded guy playing in a great system. LaMarcus Aldridge is a very well-rounded NBA player playing in a great system. Hassan Whiteside is this experiment turned to freak of nature at getting triple-doubles with blocks and is insane to watch play basketball. By the way, his blocks, they're not none of these grandma tips off the fingers blocks. These are get the fuck off my court types of blocks that we're watching him do. And that's among centers. In terms of power forwards, because again, the NBA is changing, PER-wise, Blake Griffin leads with a 30.52, and then of course what's going to come into the argument is DeMarcus Cousins, 26.04, second on that list. If you got to choose one of these big men not named Anthony Davis as the best in the league, who do you got?
Oh, you hit me with the not named Anthony Davis.
But I mean, you can say, okay, so if that's the case, the second best big man in the league is.
Right, yeah. It's difficult because for the first time, for the first time since the 90s, I guess, the best player in the NBA is not a big man. I mean, it's not a big man. And so, it seems like we're kind of at a transition point where there's a lot of young talent that's on the come up that in a few years, are going to be dominant. Right now, it's hard to say. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins may be my answer but he's just so volatile. And I know that I wouldn't want to build my team for this year around him because I'm not sure what he'll give me, or whether he'll be there. And that's a problem for me. But just the sheer number of things he could do right now, he's probably the second best big man in the NBA, but behind Anthony Davis. Those young centers that you mentioned, I love them. One that you didn't mention was Rudy Gobert. I love him too.
Stifle
I
Tower,
love these shot blockers, these big men that can get 15 to 18 rebounds a game and really control the paint. But none of them are as dominant. If you look at, it could be like a one-trick pony, kind of like a Shaq. He could do more things than one, but I mean, he was just beastly in the middle.
Right.
And or you can be diverse like a Duncan or a Garnett or a Dirk.
Right.
I don't feel like those big men are as either as dominant or as diverse.
Right. And you see more of that Garnett game that extends outside of just underneath the rim. And Shaq, yeah, he got the one-trick pony label, but of course he was that great of a one-trick pony that it didn't really matter, especially playing alongside the likes of Kobe Bryant. Now, I think it's unfair to not mention Andre Drummond, although it's a lot of offensive power that we're seeing. My favorite game to play in the NBA right now is you look at how many points Andre Drummond has scored, and you have to ask yourself, does he have more or less rebounds on the night? Because when he has 20 points, you're like, wow, look at that, he's got 22 rebounds. That's just fucking absurd. You don't see it. And by the way, I had no idea that was hair on his shoulders. I thought those were, I don't know what that was. And then I was like, maybe that's why nobody wants to box this guy out, because there's this creepy amount of shoulder hair that are coming out of him. It's ridiculous.
He's a throwback to caveman days, man.
Right. So I think with DeMarcus Cousins, all Celtics fans are crossing their fingers that some kind of trade is made at the deadline. But I agree. I think DeMarcus Cousins and or Hassan Whiteside are right up there in terms of the second best big man in the NBA. Now, before we go, it would be unfair to not mention your Minnesota Timberwolves. Because Karl-Anthony Towns, currently ranked 8th in your PER, 21.50, is very much showing that he is the number 1 overall pick in this draft and maybe one of the best number 1 overall picks since Anthony Davis. The guy's got a complete game, and he's ecstatic to watch. When does Karl-Anthony Towns start making a run for that category of best big man in the NBA?
He's on the street now, because honestly, I'm glad you threw it to there, because otherwise I was going to try to jump in before.
I don't blame you, man. I know he's great to watch.
I saw a thread the other day, who was a better prospect coming into the NBA, Anthony Davis or Karl-Anthony Towns? And what Towns is doing right now through 10 or 12 games, obviously, is better than what Davis was doing at the same point.
Right, he's a little more mature.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good now as Davis is now, but I think he's maybe more of an effective defensive player than Davis is now. Like, Davis gets the shot blocks, but he doesn't have a huge defensive impact like you would expect. Whereas Towns is kind of a difference maker down low, maybe because of his size and his timing. So, he's not there yet, but by this time next year, year after at the latest, I think he's right there.
Absolutely, 110%. The Timberwolves, absolutely the league pass team of the year. They're a must watch. They really are, and they're coming to town soon against the Clippers and against the Lakers. I'm excited to watch that as well. So, who is the best big man in the NBA? That is for the comments section below. You can't count out, and please, Enes Kanter's not an acceptable answer. I refuse to believe that. Because people were getting on my case earlier about the whole, but Enes Kanter's so good offensively. He can't play defense. You can't be the best big man in the NBA. Sorry, Enes Kanter.
Defense is huge for the big man.
Andre, the quickest of answers right before we go. Buy or sell LeBron James's mustache?
I'm selling on the stash.
I like the mustache. I'm buying the mustache. I might have to grow one for quiety Sports. It's only going to take 3 years, and then we'll have it done. Make sure to comment below with the best big man in the NBA. Andre, thanks for joining me as always. At Professor DRZ on Twitter, hoopslab at rotowire.com, as well as the NBA podcast. Make sure to check it out. It's all in the description below. As for myself, at JasonRubin91, we'll be back next week. We won't be back next week because it is Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving, Andre. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody else. If this clip is going up around that point. Anyway, if not, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.